Hey guys. Yeah, so obviously we didn't do a stream yesterday. This render is where we left off on the last session. I left it rendering for a little bit. It's not perfectly clean, but it's clean enough for us to see what we need to do. So, as always, something I need to do, or want to do, is give credit where it's due. So, this image was created by Sam Rowan. I'm working to kind of recreate it, although I've found out actually off stream he's got a bird body, so we're a bit too far gone to fix that really, considering it's more of a portrait study. I'll find the actual image soon, but yeah, it turns out he's actually a bird. But yeah, so his art page is the first line in the description of this video. I've also put my website as the second line because a few people have mentioned.
People copying the NHS outside.
Okay. Hey there, man. Let me see if I can find the. I'll just get the video up. Videos. But yeah, so he's actually a bird, as it turns out. Hey Becca, he's a bird. We didn't know that when we started. But yeah, so this is the full image. So yeah, obviously we can't really go back and fix that, but because at the time the only image available is the cropped one. I just assumed this was his arm sticking up behind him. I thought the pose was a bit odd, but now we understand why.
Mike's just found out that he's been making this character
So,
and
yeah.
it was a monkey the entire time, but then the artist did a full video and it's actually a bird.
But yeah, so
I wish. I'll show you if you like.
I've just closed it.
Maybe just
let me get it back. One sec, guys.
hang on. So this is what he thought it was.
What I thought it was.
Hang on, sorry.
What do you want?
The image.
Right, so this is the image I'm working from.
So yeah, this is the image he was working from, right? So he thought that it was a monkey.
And then if I get the actual...
But the actual video shows that it's definitely not a monkey, and it's in fact... It's actually a bird.
Right, I'm gonna get another stream. But yeah, so this is where we've got to in terms of... I find that whole thing kind of hilarious, but obviously, yeah, it's too far gone. So, in terms of what we want to do, so we're going to ignore the bird body. In terms of what we want to do to get close to this reference, we need to start tapering in this side of the hair, because obviously, like, this is posed, but I think like until I actually pose it, I'm gonna need to just pull this in, kind of find a nice interesting way to relax that, just because it will help the silhouette quite a bit. I need to flatten the hair that's on the ears, because the ears currently look way too fluffy. I'm just going to bring all this over here. Also, before I get started on the groom, I need to export this model to someone. There's a rigger who wants to do something with it, so I'm going to send him the model. Someone I know from university. But yeah, so I need to kind of taper in the fur on the ears, make it a lot flatter, which I think will help get the look. I need to kind of match the fur quality of the neck to the rest of the head. So kind of get this sort of structure from the back and put it on here. And then finally we should probably start working on the body, and then I'm going to start blocking out some look depth. I mean, we've still got the ears to do, so probably another 2 streams I think on the groom before we move on to anything else. So let me just quickly export this model. File, export selection. Do I have FBX enabled? I do have FBX enabled. Yeah, I know. Right, so I'm just going to call this Rowan Creature 01. Put that there. Constraints export. Yeah, that's fine. I just need to send that quickly. Sorry about the delay. Just send this through. Attach this. The CG stuff. Projects. Custom projects. There we go. Sending that through. But yeah, so I guess if there's anything in particular you guys want to see, if you want to see me work on, I'm probably going to start with the ears just because that is probably going to make the most difference for the least amount of work, which is always a nice thing. So, right back?
Yes.
Standing directly over me.
Just watching.
You can watch anywhere in the room.
I just want to be right here.
Let's go into ears. How was the pub quiz?
It was good. I won.
You won.
I won.
I'm so proud.
Super excited. I was like 12 out of 40.
Nice. Did anyone get any points on Hanan's questions? Let's get rid of that one. Yeah, let's go there. I'm going to start flattening it from the sides, just because they're going to be the easiest ones to see. I think I won't flatten it at this point, or maybe I'll start flattening at that point, but that can stay. So let's start flattening this. I'm just going to mirror the guides over when I get to the other side. So, oh, I need to also select this guy. Cool. Just grab that. So I don't know how much flatter I can make it without having any issues of intersection. So that's something we'll find out, but I think it is quite important that I flatten this because we're gaining so much volume it just looks too fluffy. Let's pull that out. Let's do that. The reason I'm not just grabbing the guides and rotating is just because that would result in probably quite a few intersections. You always want to make sure you're controlling your guide shapes. Sometimes doing a hacky little trick is fine, but I always recommend that you are in full control of your guides. So if you want to make a general scale change, obviously you can just go and scale it, but if you want to change anything like flow or fur direction, you can just rotate the guide, but it's never going to work out quite as well as doing it properly and going in. So what I'm going to do to make sure I'm getting all these relatively uniformly is I'm going to kind of go strip by strip and kind of get my camera at an angle where I can see it. So something like this, and then I can just pull that. I'll have to go in and fix the flows after, because there's no way they'll survive this. But fixing flows is easy. So let's just see how well that works, or if it works at all, just from the front. Yeah, so you see how much less fluffy this side looks than that one? I need to also flatten the front itself as well. So let's do that one as well. Something like that. Cool. That might not have been enough, but we'll see. I could also shorten the hair slightly. That will help flattening. And maybe once I've done a pass of flattening this, maybe I can get away with rotating it, because naturally I'm going to be removing some curvature, which is what would cause the intersections. So I might be able to get away with just rotating after this first pass. But notice how, like, you know, I'm doing the height change, but then I'm also going in and checking, you know, does it still have the general shape that I want? Keep rotating the camera as well. You don't want to just make changes and not check the camera. Okay, so that model still hasn't gone through, so I might have to. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's gone through now. Cool. But yeah, so let's go in and grab. A lot of these are surprisingly flat, actually. I don't want to flatten them all the way. I will be flattening them a lot, but I want to make sure I'm keeping some kind of arch. Because hairs don't naturally lie very flat that often. They obviously can do, like evolution can do some weird shit, but most of the time hair tends to like kind of have a nice arc to it, which is something I often find is missing in beginner grooms. Like sometimes I get grooms sent to me and like the first thing I notice is like, unless the hair's been pulled back for like a really tight ponytail, the hair shouldn't really be flat in most cases. it's good to keep some volume on it. Plus volume looks quite pretty. Okay. So down here I'm not going to flatten it just because I do want it to be kind of crazy down there, but I need to figure out kind of where I can start blending those heights. I think around about there is the amount that I'd want. So how's everyone days going? Everyone doing okay? Let's do that. Might still be a bit fluffy. I might have to remove some of the noise on the clumps. It could also be that the ear itself is too thick. That is possible. Let's go into the modifiers. Did I add an on-off switch to the noise? I did. Perfect. So that's an auto update. So it's not just a noise issue, because it still feels too fluffy with the noise. Is it percentage clumping? That's 62 is the number I need to remember. Nah, that's not helping either. Okay, so it is like a 62. It is a guide issue by those things. So I might have to go even flatter. Let's try Let's try one region. So now that I've already got them pretty flat, I can kind of get where we're starting to just rotate. But we are going to get a lot of intersections, so I will need to go through and fix quite a bit of stuff. Although when I'm rotating these, take note of the fact that I'm getting my camera at a glancing angle. And that just means that when I rotate it, I'm rotating it relative to the surface that it's on, rather than just some arbitrary axis. So he's a hard one to figure out, I think, around there. I think there on the side. So you see how this one, if I rotate it down enough, it starts to intersect. So that's when we can go in and just tweak that up. Maybe bump the bottom of it a bit. That's feeling better. Let's add the noises back in. That feels a lot better to me. It's not a strong effect, but it's what we want. I need to fade the density on the inside of the ear, that will help as well. We also need to tighten up this top section. So I'm going to do something weird. I'm going to cross the guides over. And this is bad, but I'm going to see if it forces a look. It does, alright. So obviously interpolation kicks in when you're doing this sort of stuff. So one of the things I want is these like super tight shapes. Obviously I don't want to keep the guides crossing over. So what I can do is kind of kink them at the tips just to make sure that they don't actually cross. But keep the root orientation of them. So let's just do... Did I do that thing again where I accidentally assign a material? Let me just go into no editor. I did. Okay. Let's do this. Alright, so DAG set members. Let's add this to the bottom. Okay. Why can't you be connected? Let's just reassign Lambert. I don't know if this affects anything, but I'd rather not find out. Alright, so I hate this. XGen. Do something like that. So that stops them from crossing over, but it does. It should ideally keep the same shape. I didn't realize how much we'd have to force that though. It's kind of interesting. What do you think XGen is missing as a grooming tool? A friendly pipeline, primarily. I don't really care for all the like. I actually got rid of the shape. What a shame. Like, I don't really care about sculptable hair, to be honest. Like, that's in my mind, that's not helpful unless you're doing an exact match of a reference, which even in the industry is rare. Like most of the time, you're just going for a general feel. Like you want to get, you know, how the clumps are relative to each other. You don't necessarily need to match an individual clump. I've only ever done that once, and it's very rare, very rare to do that. So I don't really care for having like sculptable hair, which is obviously the thing that Autodesk assumed everyone wanted. And to be fair, when the interactive groomables, interactive splines thing came out, it did kick up quite a bit of interest. But I think in the long run, it's proved less helpful than people expected. It's a shame that we lost that. I'm going to have to add some more guides effect to recover it. So let's go in and add a guide right there. Yeah, there we go. So let's just tighten this all the way up. I'm going to do something like that. I'm literally going to pull it to a point. Let's do the same with, in fact, not do the same with you. Update that. There we go. Starting to get that tip back. I think the fur is too long on this side. I think we're getting too much of this stuff going on. We could also be a flow issue, to be fair. Maybe if we add some interesting shapes in this area. In terms of what else is missing as a grooming tool, feathers. Feathers are a big one. Pipeline is the first major one for me, because feathers you can do a very convincing job of without groom. Like meshes with nice shaders can really get quite close. They're used more often than people realize. But what was I going to say? Yeah, so it would be nice to have feathers, but I think that's less important in the grand scale of things. Let's do something like that. Might need a guide here to help. This area is quite dull, to be honest. Almost all the hairs are going in the same direction. Let me just alt save this. Alright, so let's figure out this area. So let's do I think this needs to pull back. That actually doesn't make much sense. The direction it's flowing at the moment doesn't make much sense. I think it should do more like that. Like it's pushed forward at the root because of the hairs around it, but then it kind of sweeps back. So which would mean this hair needs to be pushed massively forward. You always want hairs that are near each other to influence each other in some way. So obviously, although this and the head groom are separate grooms, I still want them to kind of, you know, be visible forces against each other. This one's kind of a weird one because it's in the middle of a flow, which I need to fix. So for now, I'm just going to do that. And then these guys are okay. They can kind of escape it. Let's see if doing that helps. We also need to pull this hair in. But even doing that, to me, helps a little bit in my head. It might not actually be better, but it looks better to me. Let's blind this guy a bit. So something else I'm going to need to add quite soon is, if I get the reference back up, I also need to switch to using PureRef. This area is like super fuzzy. Like it's that way because of brush textures, not necessarily intentionally painted that way. I mean, it's probably a case of intentionally blurry, but the way to interpret that for groom, generally speaking, when you see blur, what you need is less structure, because structure normally shows up as harsh shadows or visible reflections. Blurriness normally comes from a lack of information, which in this case would be noise. Let me just get PureRef open. Cool. Drag you there. And then, so we need the original concept, and we don't need the lineup, we need the hair. Drag that in there as well. Let's find a nice ref. I don't think there's any particular ref. I don't know why it's zoomed in so far. I don't think there's any particular ref for the ears other than this guy. So I'll work from this for now, and then if I get stuck, I'll hunt out some ref. Because I'll be doing a final pass on all the grooms at some point. So I still need to add one more groom as well. I need to add a matted clumps groom to kind of go in and like get some really crazy shapes. I always find that having one groom at the end that just goes through and does like basically hand-placed clumps, it always adds a lot. Like on the Dragon Boy project, it really, like, the groom went from being okay to quite nice just through adding some like art-directed clumps basically. So we need to really go in and drive some of this stuff now. So this guide needs to be, I think, quite a bit further back. All the guides in this area need fixing, to be honest, but I think that needs to be over there, which means these need to be compensated. That one can flow up, that one can flow in. I'm just picking directions to be favorited, basically, or to get priority. Oh, yeah, okay. Let's fix that one there. Sometimes when I accidentally move the wrong guide, sometimes I don't like to go in and undo. Sometimes I like to kind of figure the shape out again, because you never know, you might get something nice on the second try. So, because it forces you to look at like all the shapes around it that are kind of finished, in quote marks. So it kind of gives you a new perspective and, like, what should this hair be doing? Obviously, when I was placing the other guides, I placed them based on this, and now it'd be like, if these end up the same as how I had it before, then it means the flow was right. If not, then it means something was wrong with the flow. So let's do something like, let's curl it back a little bit. I know I didn't do that before, but let's see how that goes. That will get me like some arch here in the interpolation, which might be quite cool. It'll be a very short arch because these are quite close to each other, but might be all we need. So in this area, we need some short guides. Let's add a guide right there, and then I'm gonna pull that way over. Cool. This doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but this shape is required because it's in the concept. Oh, whack on won't go on the other screen. So I need this arch, which is technically going against what all the others are doing. I've got these two brush strokes here, like this chalk and this chalk, To me, that feels like they're coming forward, just because they're large at the top. So I might have to kind of work in a way to get some, some nice clumps going forward. I also don't know what this guy's doing. He's on some kind of meth. But yeah, we might have to find a way to kind of add clumps that are down here and like fly way forward. So maybe that's what this guy can be doing, because he doesn't make much sense anyway. So let's give him a go. He needs to be way longer, which maybe isn't the right thing to do. Let's just do that then. Have him kind of like counter this guy. Add a guide in between. And then this kind of goes against what a lot of the stuff I like to do, but these need to be short, which means that we've got like a random patch of shorter fur here. And the reason I say these need to be short is because we've got these two clumps here, and they're quite short but very strong triangles. So unless the hair is going really long and then kind of folds under itself and comes back up and then goes straight again, to me it makes more sense for the hair to be shorter, because the only other way to do that with the correct length of guides would be to do something like that. And to me that makes even less sense than just making the guide shorter. Like, I don't know if you guys agree, but I think that looks a bit more silly than just making the guide long. Or short even. So I'm going to go in and scale that. But we will need quite a few guides to help define that. Because naturally the interpolation is going to just make a triangle. It's not going to make a shorter section. Because that's not how interpolation works. Let's set a guide right there. And he can be one of our last ones for this clump here. So we need to define a border where those clumps end. We should also probably pull him forward a little bit. So now we can add a guide right there, and he can be short again. And let's pull him towards this guy. And shoulder groom. So it's still quite long, although we are starting to get that shape, which is nice. I'm not going to match it exactly, just because it would feel quite out of place, I think. Because my groom naturally has a lot more detail than this, just because, with being an actual groom, I have basically loads of tiny pencil marks as individual hairs and the small clumps, so I'm not as free to make shapes as Sam was, but we'll see what I can make out of them. Let's add a guide right... Oh, actually, let's check where the mask goes first. Does hair grow on the inside of the ear? It does. I might have to remove that. Yeah, in fact, that doesn't make much sense. So let's add a guide. I'm going to define the edge of the ear as kind of where the hair stops. So we'll add some guides to those, and we'll go back in and fix that in a second. For now, we need to paint a mask out. So, tool options. I like to turn off stylus pressure and set solid brush. Let's just do that. In straight speaking, the hair wouldn't really grow on this either, but I kind of want to use this to my advantage. It gives me a little bit more room to add fur, and you're not going to see in there anyway. Which makes me sad because I spent so much time getting the retopology in this area to not suck. I somewhat achieved it, I think. It's kind of weird and loopy, but it holds the shape. I need to do the same on the other side. Oh, the other side I never actually painted in. Cool. I actually need to paint more there. In some ways I'm kind of glad that you can't mirror the maps, because it kind of forces variation. Hello.
How goes it?
It's gone alright so far. I mean, I'm only 30 minutes into it. Next gen. Save texture.
I've got your phone, by the way, because mine's charging.
Pardon?
I've got your phone.
Cool. Let me know if anything comes through.
Sure. The President of the United States Nature.
It's more about potential work stuff, so yeah. Right, let's hide that. And let's start. I don't know what this guide should do, so let's figure out the other ones and come back to that. Backflip. So let's just do that. And then for this guy, I think I'll do the same. In fact, actually, no. Let's do that. This area is going to produce some really weird interpolations, but we can get back to that if we need to. But yeah, that doesn't make much sense at all. Sometimes not making sense is good, and sometimes it's really bad. In that case, it was bad. So, judging by the ref, technically it looks like this should be going against this stuff. But why is the question? And the reason I say that is because we zoom in here, we got these strokes going that way and that way, and obviously we've got these ones. I think they're coming forward still, but you know, we got strokes kind of fighting against this. You can even see some on that clump. So I'm gonna have some hair fighting in that area. So let's just do something like that and see what happens to it. We might have to shorten the hair again. Something like that. It's quite a strange looking set of guides. I have to really force that shape in this area. So one of the reasons this shape isn't reading right now is because of the length. So I might need to set all the guides that do this clump to go to the same point. And that will force the length within, like, you know, in between these guides, it'll force the length up to the same. Because otherwise you're at the mercy of seeds. And seeds don't always play that nice. So let's scale these up. And this is definitely cheating a shape, but then really anything based on a concept has to be full of cheated shapes. Generally the goal is to keep it as realistic as you can for as long as you can, but ultimately you'll never be able to stay true to reality and match painted shapes. It's just not how hair works. Need to scale it up even more. Right, so that will hopefully force a shape. It didn't. Weird. Am I just really unlucky with the seed? I'm getting no clumps in between them. Let's generate a new clump map. Weird. Alright, we can come back to that at a different point. Let's just regenerate the clump 2s. There we go. Right, so I'm going to need to add some fuzz in this area. So let's create a noise. I really wish you could name... Oh, actually, that's something that I think is missing from XGen, is the ability to name modifiers. Because as far as I'm aware, you can't name them. So I'm just going to have to create a noise. And this one's going to be super fuzzy. Actually, I think that might not be far off. Actually, we need to rand it a little bit. So let's do rand 0.5 to 1.5. Get some variation in there. And we just need to map that to just the area we need it. So, hide that. I'm going to add it down here, kind of fuzz up this area. I'll need to add a pretty similar noise to the hair itself, so it's not so disjointed. But let's create a map. Let's call this fur is 01. Let's just call it fuzz. Fuzz mask. Start it off as black. Map resolution is 1, and create. I always recommend you start your maps as black, by the way. just because it's easier to paint everything in and not have to worry about the inside of the eyes and mouth than it is to paint eyes and mouth out. Stuff like that. I'm not going to worry about blending. Let's just do a quick blur. Which, by the way, if you don't know, you can do by holding shift. Cool. Save that. Save textures. What that will do is just add this little fuzzy patch, which I might need to extend up the ear a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of cool. We just need to extend it up this way. So. Get to like there. I think any higher than that we're going to start having issues. Save textures. There we go. It might look dumb. It might not. We'll find out. For now, let's mirror. Oh, I need to do the density map as well. I need to kind of fade it into the ear. We'll also at some point need to do groom inside the ear. So for now, we might need some guides inside the ear so that we can blend it. So let's do that. Let's add a guide right. Let's get some topology lines visible. Sometimes grooming with topology lines visible is really helpful, because then you can just follow one kind of edge. And that way you know you've always got at least a relatively similar distance. You're already there, and we'll have to do the same to the other side. I'll be mirroring the guides over, so I don't need to worry too much about copying them on both sides. There's a big gap in the guides here, I should probably fix that. I don't think I've got that right, so we're going to have to fix all those. Grab you. And I think this guy's actually alright. I might pull him in a little bit. I just need to sculpt all those. I'll probably shorten them a little bit, but I'll sculpt them first and we'll decide if we need to shorten them or not. For now, I just need to stop them intersecting, which is easier said than done on thin areas like this. So you can, for this sort of stuff, groomable splines is better, but I don't want to create a separate groom just to blend the ears. I hate having blend grooms. There's something that is sometimes necessary in industry to create a separate groom just to blend some stuff, but they are an absolute nightmare. They always require like so many different variations to work properly. Okay. So let's scale them all down as well. Stuff like that. Just so the hair gets a little bit shorter before it vanishes. Let's turn off this. I need to go into the channel box editor. So this is 0.8. So they've all got the same taper. Cool. Then let's go into density. And this will have to be painted on both sides. I also have to paint the fuzz on both sides, but that's something that's easier. So I think what I'll do is I'll paint white up until the guides and then blur it. So let's just do that. And then I just need to be careful when I'm blurring it that I'm not accidentally extending the border too much. Oh, I didn't fix that guide. I'm going to fix that in a sec. So, there's a really large blend. Why is the blend? Why is the blur so big? Ooh, it has like a screen space. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know it did that. That's really, really cool. This is what I'm saying, like it's really hard to make sure that you're keeping things consistent. What we'll have to do is just kind of see if this works. I'll probably have to pull it back a bit, because we're definitely going too far in some of these areas. So let's go in and paint some white there. Where was it? Here. Just do something like that, just to make sure it's in place. Save textures, extend, save that texture, and show. That feels a lot better. I just need to find that guide that I hadn't fixed. He's there. Let's just rotate him out. Which means we also didn't scale him, so let's do that. Then we're going to need a guide in the middle here, apparently. Because that area didn't behave very well. I need to blur the density quite a bit more. Save this. Save you. I might just fill the air using this method. Just do a really sparse groom in the middle. That looks like it's working rather well. Which I didn't expect, to be honest. I'll need to do a fair bit of guide work, but I did say we'll focus on the ears, so fuck it, let's focus on the ears. So, show these, paint. I'm going to pick a really low value, so let's go with 0.1 density on the inside, on the middle line. Can't see it. Let's put this up. Let's just see how this looks. We'll need to do guide work, but let's just see how the value itself works. Set that back to 1. Let's add a guide in the middle. Does 0.1 even show up any hairs? I don't think it does. access to a value of 0.2. Still not visible. There we go. So 0.2 works. I think 0.2 works quite well actually. Let's set that back down. I'm going to need to turn off clumping on the inside of the ear. I think 0.2 works quite well, so we're just going to need to sort out our guides. Fatal error. Yay. Hello, it's me again. So, my So let's just go in and details, set fancy. There we go. Oh, that's the wrong group. So I need another guide there, a row of guides here, and a row of guides here. So let's hide those. I think they can do fine on its own. Okay. Save this scene. Set a guide here as well. And I'll have to lie that flat. I'm not going to lie them completely flat. I want a little bit of volume in there, but not much. There we go. Let's grab him. So, let's go into our clump 2s. Oh yeah, we don't have a mask. Alright, cool. So, we're going to need to... Hey Aaron. Let's create a map. Fur is 01 clump. Let's just put CO2, save some time. CO2 mask. Set to start color. Start color can be white, and then map resolution is 1. Just because I want everywhere to be affected. I already posted to my personal Facebook, and I'll put it on my LinkedIn from time to time. If you guys ever want to share the stream, that'd be really cool. That is 01. Yeah, that'll do. So let's just go in and paint the inside of the ears to black. Boop, boop, boop. Something like that. And then blur the outsides. I think the smooth is really small. So let's go into blur. Cool. So I think that will work. We're going to have to pretty much copy all of our textures to the other side. And obviously now this is going to change the look because we haven't copied. Yeah, so we haven't got that percentage. So what we need to do now is paste what we copied earlier. Let's call this clump mask. And then I like to put spaces. And then all we need to do is grab all of this and multiply it by clump mask. I can get rid of that line, and I like to add a line between. When I'm writing expressions, I really like to kind of declare all my variables and then separate visibly, like when I'm actually combining them. So if I apply that, now we have our percentage and all that stuff back. So we get that fluffiness, and we've got the mask on the inside. There we go. These clumps, I think, are coming from the other side of the head, which is a bit of a problem. We also need to fix some intersections, but I think as a whole, this side is working a lot better than this one. Now that we've done some guide work here, flattened it as a whole, refined the clump, added some fuzzies here. This isn't really working quite yet for me, but it's working well enough to kind of move on to the next stage. I need to blend the density map down here. That would be good enough, I think. Save textures, exchange, save ptex. There we go. Nice blend. Right, let's start mirroring everything across. So, save the scene. Hide these, make sure it doesn't update automatically. Mirror that. Cool. Let's select everything and just set the taper. There we go. Then we just need to go through and paint maps one by one, basically. So this one, I'm going to put the this up. Let's also change this to sRGB gamma. Cool. This is super bright now, actually. In fact, let's see if sRGB gamma could see it to begin with. It could. Alright, cool. So, if I set this to a value of 0.2, which I know is the value I used inside the ear on that side, we can just... I'll post it on 10K, we'll see if that helps. Yeah, that'd be great, man. Thank you. See, I've always been... I don't like... Something for me personally is I don't like posting things around. So basically, when I started... This is something I've talked about a few times. But when I first started university, I genuinely went in thinking everyone would be way better than me, because my college tutor, I think he's watching this at the moment, he used to tell me how Bournemouth is like, you know, basically everyone there will demolish you and all that sort of stuff. So I wholeheartedly went there expecting to be absolutely like demolished by every other student, but it turned out that most of the students there hadn't really done much CG before. There were a few that were really amazing, but most of them were new to it, and they all caught up to me by the end of the uni. But the problem is because I thought everyone would be everyone would be more experienced. When I first got there, I posted like all the time to our little community page that we had. The problem with that is people interpreted that as me showing off. So I ended up getting a bit of a reputation for being a show-off and forcing my skills in people's faces, which genuinely wasn't the reason for me posting stuff. I genuinely just wanted feedback. But obviously once you got a reputation, you kind of keep it, which is a bit frustrating. So I did have like a bit of an ego, kind of leaving uni, but since leaving uni, I don't like posting things around too much. I like to update my personal page, but that's because it's my personal page. You know, there's no reason not to update that. But I really don't like posting things around unless they're finished, or unless people have reacted very well to it. So like the work in progress going in the back of the head, people really liked it. So it's like, oh, I'll post it to a couple pages here or there. But I try to keep it to a minimum. So because of that, I don't often like posting. Like work in progress or streams to public pages. Let's paint there and smooth that. I need to paint that out. But yeah, there's probably still quite a few people from university who probably still think I'm an arsehole or a show-off. I mean, I know there's at least one who tried to give me a bad name when I was going to Canada, but that's a different story. Save that. There we go. So we're gonna have to figure out where these but streams are not just about showing off, it's about helping others. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like I do these streams for two reasons. One is it motivates me to do personal work, because I really do want to get back into personal work. I've recently taken more of a generalist role at work. I was a groom specialist for the longest time, and now I'm getting more and more generalist. So I want to practice, how far can I push stuff? Because it's been a long time for me. Since I really dived into modeling and looked at. Also, this side is still different. I don't know why that is. Is the density map different over there? But yeah, so I do it partially because it helps me motivate myself to work. But the reason it motivates me is because I really enjoy teaching. Yeah, again, like I added the link to portfolio, but only because people asked. I don't often like kind of bigging myself up, really. I used to. I don't anymore. Right, so still not really that keen on this fuzzy bit, but it is fuzzy, and like obviously this bit's not, so maybe I just need to move it up more, but this area is completely fuzzed out, just because it's blurry. So I need to do something with a noise there to kind of really fuzz that out, but I don't know, it's not working for me yet. Maybe because I've still got my clumps. Maybe I need to add a clump noise in there as well, but that adds structure. Well, technically it removes structure, but it moves chunks at the same time, so it would read as shapes. It wouldn't read as blurriness. Let's just, for now, add the fuzz to both sides, and we can decide if we like it or not. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion, like whether you think I should keep or remove some of this stuff. Because I am getting to that stage now where I've been doing this groom for a while. I think so far we've spent 25-30 hours on the groom alone. So it is getting to that stage where I will start to become blind to things. I try to start every session with like a feedback session to myself. For anyone who's not in industry, you may or may not have heard of dailies. They are incredibly important within the industry. Basically every day the supervisor, or ideally every day, the supervisor will come from desk to desk and give you notes. It can end up being once a week, or it depends on how busy everyone is. Because obviously there are times when you know what you have to do anyway. But I am reaching that point now where I am becoming more and more blind to shapes. So that's the reason I start every stream with like a little feedback session, is to lay out some goals, see it with fresh eyes. Because over the course of the next 3 hours that I'm streaming, or the next 2 hours that I'm streaming, I will forget I won't see some of the same things that I saw earlier. Let's do that. So, save this guy. Save this guy. And then update that. I need to check my clump maps as well. I think this side is clumping, which is why it's visibly worse than this one. I think. It might be visibly worse just out of unlucky seeds. Hey Ian, how you doing? Let's check. Oh yeah, I haven't painted that out. Cool. So I need to paint black. Basically up to the guides. As much as I said earlier that it is helpful to paint things asymmetrically, there are times where you just wish there was a mirror button in the Maya paint tool. Any thoughts on Unreal Engine 5? My entire Facebook feed. It's got some really good tech. I think there are a lot of people reading in too much to the whole raw ZBrush sculpt thing. Granted, I'm not an insider on Unreal Engine. I work with game engines, but I don't know what Epic Games are doing all the time. But the way it seems to me is the raw ZBrush stuff is useless for a pipeline ultimately in terms of like characters and anything animated, because no matter what they do to Unreal, it's still not a modeling tool, it's still not an animation tool really, so you need to be able to use things in Maya, and you can't animate a sculpt in Maya or 3ds Max or Modo or whatever you pick, or even the almighty Blender that some communities are so stuck on. You can't really animate a sculpt properly in anything. I'm sure there's like little tools, like I know there's that key mesh thing that looks really cool, but yeah, it's amazing tech. The whole real-time GI stuff, I think that's the thing that's got me most excited, just because like although I'm not really lighting, I know how to light to a basic level, and I had to learn it for university, but I think from a game design perspective, which I'm not part of, but that just enables them to do so much more like pretty stuff. And I feel like levels will kind of incorporate that a bit. Hell, maybe they'll start to put it into game design in some ways, like using light. Like I don't know if you guys remember. There's 2 games. There's Alan Wake, which was like a light-based Stephen King-esque survival horror, and monsters were only like vulnerable if they were having light shine on them and that sort of stuff. That sort of game would work so well with the new light tech. Maybe it's time for an Alan Wake sequel, because that game was actually really good. I'm going to do a test render from the front. But yeah, so that light tech is really cool. Although one of the things I think that I've seen shockingly few people talk about, that I'm another thing that's got me really excited, is the audio stuff. Like actually having 3D audio in some way. Like, I know it's an approximation, like everything is. But I imagine like that would be really cool. Again, for survival horror games, like imagine a disorientation, like what some people like to do in survival horror games, and I say some people because I'm one of them. I always just sit my headphones on, and all that makes it scary. It means if I sit in a quiet room, I can hear where things are, and it allows me to sneak around. Whereas if there's like echoes and that sort of stuff, not only would it make it creepier, but it also makes it harder to do that, because you might be hearing the echo on an opposite wall. So you might think something is in one place and actually it's in another, and that would be down to the procedural audio, like echoing stuff. I think there's a lot of genuine, like, really good game, like game uses, like gameplay advantages to a lot of these things that they're showing in tech. The thing that everyone's going on about is the raw ZBrush, but to me, like, although it's cool that you wouldn't have to do LODs anymore, it fundamentally wouldn't change the character pipeline. You're just not making LODs at the end. That's the only real difference. At least from my current perspective, I'm not that educated on the tool. But yeah, the sound stuff and the GI, they seem great. Although the GI does have a bit of a delay, I noticed, like when they move the lights. There's like a 3 frame kind of lag, or 4 frame kind of lag. But to be fair, like, it's doing GI in real time. I'm going to cut it some slack. It's amazing. The ear doesn't look that much thinner. I mean, it does up here. It sounds like it would be great to get to go on virtual sets. It'll be a while in games fitting all those meshes. PS5 sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, I mean, for virtual sets, it'll be amazing. Like, I don't know what studios are looking at Unreal. I know that Unreal is obviously targeting a lot of that. Like, they've added like VR camera support and that sort of stuff. Like, that's available in the Unreal store, I think. At least I've seen people talk about it in like comment sections to Unreal. I think it was on which group was it on Level Up or something. Someone was talking about how this is getting to the point where it's kind of a VFX tool, and they were talking about virtual cameras and that sort of stuff. But yeah, like, you know, if I guess with the capabilities of it, you could not necessarily have to treat it like a real-time engine. You could crank all the settings so you're still getting, you know, 20 frames a second, which isn't really a gameplay at that point. But it would allow you to really crank the quality on everything. And, you know, once you're doing final renders for virtual set, that might be all you need. Like, you have it running real time for capturing the camera movement, and then you could, you know, you store that animation, you cache it all out, and then you set the high quality renders, which are still 20 frames a second, have that go through everything. It could be really cool. It could make some really beautiful looking stuff. Sometimes people forget history. Once they said PTEX will kill UVs, which didn't. Mocap will kill animation, which we've had great, but nothing will change in the future, in my opinion. Yeah, completely. I remember when I found out about PTEX thinking, oh, I'll never UV anything again. And, you know, over the next gen, I don't think I've ever used PTEX since college. And that was 6 years ago? Yeah, 6 years ago since I left college. And I haven't used a PTEX map since then, other than grooming. Because obviously grooming uses a lot of PTEX. Right, let's just take a moment to go through this. So I've actually lost a lot of interest here. I need to recover this. This is actually objectively worse than it was before. I'm going to quickly render the inside of the ear a bit more. Set that clean up for a second. Although I am currently doing it through the presentation camera, which has depth of field, so that's probably a bad idea. In fact, yeah, let's kill that. And change to the perspective camera. And just put it in a similar angle. In fact, let's get the same angle. There we go. Close enough, I think. So let's do a render IPR of that. So this one won't have depth of field, which will hopefully speed up the render a bit and also allow us to actually see what's going on. Yeah, like, what do you guys think now in terms of Unreal Engine 5? Like, not necessarily like how cool the tech is and how good it looks, but more like the practical uses of it. Like, how do you think it will change game design? Because I think the audio stuff has some genuine gameplay improvements it could make. Like, remember when Battlefield Bad Company came out? And that had, like, you know, they really worked a lot on the audio tech in Frostbite. And like, it just felt so much more immersive than, like, you know, the Medal of Honors and the Call of Duties that came before it. Like, it was night and day. But imagine how much of a leap this could take, where, you know, they've got dynamic audioscapes. Like, imagine, you know, you're inside like a building and you can hear all the echoes from the gunshots, and then a tank takes out a wall, and all of a sudden the echoes have faded into more distant. It would feel so cinematic. Like, the fact it's dynamic would be really cool. I don't know how much it relies on baked maps. Obviously, being dynamic, it's not entirely relying on that, but maybe it has some pre-calculation to it. Actually, this is looking a lot better than I thought. This isn't working at all. This needs something going on. We might need to do guide clumping for that region. This shape is accidental but kind of interesting. So I'm going to keep that. Kind of as like a hook. Let's render this side too. But yeah, so while this renders, let's just go through the other notes. So I need to bring this out, but I think I'm going to leave that for a little bit. I need to, I think I'll work on the neck now. And I also need to pull this side in. In fact, actually, I'll pull this side in first because I think that will make the most immediate visual difference. We need to figure out what we're going to do because it's not going to be that easy. Right. I want to see better denoisers for animation and upscalers. Yeah, it's did you see the thing that Nvidia talked about today? Like they're showing the new upscaling tech they've got. I forgot what they called it, but it's like a neural network based up-resing, and it takes like a 540p image to 1080p, and it looks better than ground truth. Like if you render it at 1080p and then render it at 540 and upscale to 1080, you see more detail somehow in the up-res version, because neural networks are absolutely just ridiculous. I'm sure next-gen consoles will be rendering 540, 720 and upscaling to 4K. Yeah, probably. Because that's the thing, like, you know, it comes back to the conversation about, you know, the whole having ZBrush meshes like in engine. It's like, yeah, you can do that, but I think what they're demonstrating, yeah, I've been reading papers for years. Yeah, they're really cool tech at NVIDIA, but like you see a lot of these people who are quite new to rendering, and in the grand scale of things, I'm still quite new as well. But like, you know, beginners who don't really understand the importance of optimization. When you see things like, oh, ZBrush straight into this, they don't realize that yes, you can do that, but now imagine how many more polygons of optimized meshes you could put in there. Rather than having one ZBrush character, you could have 100 optimized characters with maps. It's kind of like I remember when the Xbox 360 came out. Do you guys remember the game Cameo? When the Xbox 360 came out, there was 2 launch games. One of them I bought, and one of my friends bought. So I bought Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. That was my first Xbox 360 game. I was just finishing primary school when that came out. I was, 10 or 11 years old. But yeah, like I got that, and you know, it's super realistic, and it was a good game. But you know, the characters were way higher poly. To today's standards, they're really low poly, but to you know, back then they were incredibly detailed. But then Cameo came out, and rather than push the detail, it had borderline better than previous gen graphics, but it had hundreds of enemies, and it created a new gameplay with the extra power, rather than just going, oh, look how pretty we can make it. Like ultimately, all of the tech in that new Unreal thing seemed to be developer focused, not end user focused. It tended to be stuff that removes processes from us. It removes baking. It removes all this different stuff we have to do. I mean, it's mostly baking. Yeah. Right, we need to figure out what we're going to do with this side, because I'm currently just babbling too much. Yeah, but again, I'd love to hear what you guys think about the gameplay implications of some of this stuff. In the meantime, I'm going to try to figure out what I want to do to this side. Currently, this side is completely symmetrical to this one, and in our ref, obviously this is posed, which at some point I'll be posing it. For anyone who missed the beginning of the stream, I had a revelation that this is actually a bird body. If you want to see it, just go back to the start of the stream. I did show the full concept on screen, because when I started this project, this was the only available image of the asset, but now Sam has released like the full size one as part of a video, and it's actually a bird's body. So this is like the top of a wing, like a pterodactyl wing, rather than an arm being behind his head. But obviously we're too far gone to actually change that. So Someone's going to match the head and kind of improvise a monkey body. But yeah, like obviously coming back to the original point, like his head is turned, so naturally this stuff is pushed in. But I feel like I shouldn't just rely on the fact this is posed. I feel like I should change it because ultimately this silhouette looks incredibly dull. Perfectly symmetrical silhouettes never work visually for me. In fact, let me check if something I used to do quite a lot that I find quite helpful is I'll hide all the lights in my scene. So I'll hide those, and then I'll press 7. And that's a built-in silhouette mode, right? This is quite a helpful thing. I used to do like silhouette tests with all my models. And so as we go around, we got an interesting silhouette, like the fur looks quite cool at a lot of angles. But then from the front, it's just, the ears look kind of cool actually, I kind of dig that. But this is just dull. Like, there's no character to the shape, it's just a torso, like identifiable torso, identifiable ears, but then black mass. Like, you can't tell what shape the head is. Obviously from these ones you can, but I feel like I should really define like a scoop on one side to make it asymmetrical. Is it possible to animate all the hair using the regular way? Well, like rig hair, you can. I haven't done it, but I'll get. This is my favorite resource, just partially because of its name. Shark Tacos, by the Light Collab, Doc Shark Tacos. They did a. This is basically the Bible for X-Gen groomers. I just got to find it. It was in the V-Ray, yeah, Advanced Topic V-Ray for some reason. X-Gen hair. And they talk about rigging hair in this documentation. There you go. So I'll put this in the chat. There you go. But yeah, this goes through how to rig it. It's not something I've personally done, so I'm not going to talk about it, just because I don't want to misinform anyone. But this goes through the whole process. And if you want to learn X-Gen grooming, this is one of those key resources that teaches you an absolute ton of stuff. I don't actually really like the assets themselves, but the knowledge is correct. The knowledge is really helpful. So yeah, so we'll go. Oh, what's that? Shorten hair. Oh, that's a cool trick. That's the thing. Even now, like, I've been grooming for a while, and even now, like I'll read through it and be like, oh, that's something I didn't know. So this can like invert it basically. That's really cool. Anyway, let's get rid of that. But yeah, it's a bird, Ian. It's super weird. It's actually a bird with a monkey's head. Again, at the start of the stream, I showed the more full concept that Sam posted. I wish I knew ahead of time, because that would have been super fun to do. But you know, I've gone a lot more generic. I've still got some model changes to do, but like I still need to change the cheekbones and possibly the chin as well. But yeah, I think the silhouette is actually. I've not checked the silhouette in this guy. I don't like this. This is kind of weird. But it's really important to check silhouettes. I really like how some of these break the shape. It's kind of cool. Like this stuff back here is interesting. That section's a bit flat though. I need to fix that. Although sometimes it is good to have simple lines in your silhouette. Anyway, let's get back to the original thing, which is destroying this side. So I'm going to show the hair. I need to save. And we need to do this from the correct camera, to be honest. So let's go to render cam. So I'm not going to care about the flow too much. I just want to figure out the silhouette first. So if we just go into the grease pencil and pick the background layer. I've got that light hidden. Pick the background color. Do that. I can just paint the silhouette that I want. So let's try to figure out. I don't know why it's darker. Oh, it's because I'm in Aces. Raw. No? Do I need to be in sRGB for it to work? Yeah, I do. So weird. But yeah, so let's figure out a silhouette. So I think even just doing that might be all it needs. Just some kind of scoop to help bring out the ear in some ways, but also to get, like, we want this kind of hook shape. I'd drawn that really badly. Why does the background keep showing itself? Hey, me again. Let's reopen that. I might have to avoid the grease pencil for a little bit. We actually saved right before that crash, so I'm just going to load my actual save. So let's open this. Yeah, so literally 2 minutes ago I saved that. I think Unreal Engine 5 is a big jump for games, but not for movies overall. I agree, Aaron, because regardless of realism, it can still. Yeah, I think when you talk about films, like games are a really long way off doing movies. Like, there's still a lot of stuff that even fully rendered CG is faking. Like, there's a ton of stuff that even fully rendered CG is faking. So I think the idea of games being used for films, obviously you can use them for like low budget films, but for VFX, it's a long, long way off because, subsurface scattering, for example, I can't think of a single example of a CG renderer where it isn't homogeneous subsurface scattering, and human flesh and whatever else your subsurface scattering has different densities in different areas, and there might be ways to hack it maybe, but by default they don't support it. They support homogeneous volumes, and that's not how life is. That's really not. But then you could argue then you'd have to model every vein and every muscle perfectly for it to be truly accurate. But yeah, if the stuff that film is still faking, then games are never going to catch that until films have finished progressing, which will probably never happen. But yeah, what was I saying? Don't undersell though the process of making films. I think Unreal Engine 5 will be helpful in the process of making films. Previs will get a hell of a lot prettier, and ultimately the job of Previs is to show as close a possible representation of the final film in very little time. So for that, it's an absolute blessing. So I wouldn't undersell that. You could also use it in pitches quite a lot. Because again, pitches are never photoreal. Like if you look at the work that maybe for game cinematics, kind of like Blur Studio style, yeah, and for them it would be fine because they always have like that stylized look. But if you look at, I never know how to spell or pronounce his name. Deadpool. Pool. Alessandro. Baldessaroni. I've probably butchered it. There it is. Is this him? No. Images. There we go. So it's like, this guy is an incredible artist, but when he does work for pitches, this isn't photoreal. But for a pitch, this is plenty good enough. Like this is great. This is, yeah, test footage for Blur. Like it's by no means photoreal by anyone's standards, but you don't need photoreal to pitch stuff. You don't need photoreal to plan everything out. So I think that is what Unreal Engine 5 might find itself doing, is that pitch level work. Because if you can save on weeks of render time, that's a ton of money for one. Workstations will already be good renderers for real time because we already have like ridiculous amounts of RAM and good CPUs and good GPUs. We already have that stuff, so we don't need to get new workstations specifically for Unreal. It's all already there. It's already working. let's go into forehead. So, without using the grease pencil this time, I need to hack away at this area. Maybe flow this out in some way. It would be really cool if Unreal 5 added support for VDB volumes. I'll hold out hope. I'm pretty sure they already have support, not for VDB, but for volumes in general. There's probably a conversion script out there somewhere. They will save so much money. Yeah. I feel like children's TV will already be doing that sort of stuff, to be honest. They'll already be investigating it. Hell, even tools like Eevee in Blender, like that's good enough for, you know, because there's some children's TV that you see that's like, it's beautiful stylistically, but the lighting is super simple, or like the shading is super simple. Again, stylistically, children's TV should never be as fancy as like film or feature animation, but especially on the budgets that they get. But I think it's one of those where real-time has been capable of doing that level of work for a while, and that would save a ton of money. Like, the more time you have to spend on rendering, like, you know, because to build a render farm is tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands if you get into the scale of, you know, someone like DNEG, ILM, MPC. Like, I can't imagine, I don't know the numbers, but I can't imagine they're any less than 100,000 quid for all the like slaves that they use. Let's do that, which means this guy is going to be pulled in. Currently, I'm completely improvising these shapes. I'm just pulling them in for now. But yeah, I don't know what shapes I want on this side, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. Let's pull you guys down, and then let's pull these out, I guess. So do something like that. And let's see if that's enough asymmetry for now. That is broken. Might look interesting though. Let's give that a quick. I need to test render that. Oh, I actually need to kill that because I'm rendering through the test camera, through the presentation camera, which means depth of field and all that shit. Imagine keeping the farm up to date. Yeah, God. That's the thing, because like the computer. So like, when I got my first custom-built computer, I got it for Crysis. Which I feel like is probably the story for a surprising amount of people. But that had, at the time, a beastly setup. I think it had 4 gigabytes of RAM, a NVIDIA GTX 260. It's not a 2060, the 260. I think the 2080 wasn't even out. The 280 wasn't even out at that point. So it was a 260, 4 or 8 gigabytes of RAM. I'm leaning towards 4, and a dual-core CPU, which was Intel because AMD back then sucked. So it's just like, you know, that was a beastly machine, and then 5 years later that couldn't really even use Mental Ray. So then I got a laptop which had a 4-core CPU, 12 gig of RAM, and a GTX 770M because it was a laptop. And again, at the time, beastly setup. And now I've got a 2070 Super, which I'm going to be upgrading as soon as the 380 Ti's come out. 3950X Ryzen, 64 gig of RAM, and I give it about 4 years until that's already completely trumped, like completely not good enough. Granted, for personal projects, I don't feel like 64 gigabyte of RAM will ever not be enough until displacement reaches new levels of accuracy, maybe. But I can't imagine my personal work getting past 64 gigabytes of RAM unless I start doing entire like Lion King level scenes, which, you know, as an individual artist, very few people can do that, and I don't think I'll ever get to that point. Let's do a quick render of this angle. I want to see if that silhouette change was enough to work. Also, don't forget about game sizes today can reach 100 gig, about the high poly stuff. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't Call of Duty Modern Warfare now 200 gigabytes? Which is just ridiculous, because there's people out there that have 120 gigabyte hard drives. and that is their secondary hard drive, and that's all they've got other than the operating system drive. Like, games are already getting space greedy. That's the thing. Like, again, storage is another one of those things. Like, you know, when I got my first computer, the first custom built one, that was 2007, and I think I had 500 gig total, and that was amazing. Whereas now I've got like 5 terabyte, and that's not really that high. I intentionally didn't go that high on storage because I plan on deleting most projects that I finish and just keeping, you know, the final files, not the work in progress ones. So I not even keep ZBrush files, just keep decimated versions of everything. See how this looks. I think once I've got this side blocked out, I'm gonna move on to getting the neck groom looking a bit better, because the neck groom needs the most work, I think. I still need to figure out how I want to blend it into the chain, because currently the setup it's got doesn't work. It does not look good. It just looks like a neck beard. And I do not want my little monkey bird friend to say "milady" too often, so. Render, damn it. While this renders, I'm just going to go grab a drink. If anyone has any questions or anything to watch chat about, just put it in the chat. I'll read it when I get back. Render's still not started? Or was I just really quick getting that water? Plus, I've still got a can of Guinness from last week that I need to finish. I'll say finish. I haven't opened it, but I wouldn't leave a Guinness open for a week. That's criminal. Have you tried any in-house grooming tool working somewhere? And if can you tell us a comparison with XGen? I cannot tell you a comparison, but I've worked at MPC for a couple of years now, almost 3 years, and they use a tool called Fertility. I will show you what I can show you, which is almost nothing. If you search MPC R&D, you can see the fertility page that they got here. Everything that you find in this page is what I can tell you. And I don't know what's in this page, so I'm not going to say anything. But if you want to read up on the tool, this is everything you can find. There's really not much. Done by applying a sequence of GOPs. That's basically modifiers. Geometry operators is what modifiers are. And I'm not going to say anything more. You can read whatever you want to read. But yeah, this is the only in-house grooming tool that I've used. I have used other grooming tools, but not any in-house ones. And again, I'm not going to get into comparisons, because that is breaking NDAs. But they give a decent amount of technical info. It's kind of cool. It's a really nice tool. I like it a lot. Domatic Genesis. Yeah, it can do some really nice stuff. I've never been too keen on these clumps though, on this guy. Quite square looking. This stuff looks unbelievably natural, but this isn't working for me, personally. He's looking cool. I'm surprised they don't have the groom for the Digitable Blade Runner, the Blade Runner Digitable on this. Because that was incredible. That was one of the best guns I've ever seen. How is this still not... Oh, have I got the lights hidden? Let me just check the ID channel. I've got the lights hidden, haven't I? That's just dumb. I wonder why it wasn't starting. That was probably a really clean render as well. Really eager to see how this side of the head is working now. I have made a creature with scales, and yeah, it's not easy. There isn't really a trick to it. It's just a case of either sculpt them. I guess the trick to sculpting them is don't just sculpt. Start off by masking where the scales are. So basically draw your scales on with a mask, and then you can inflate that and go in with a clay brush and break it up. Or use Texture Enhancer Z and just spend the time to blend it. It takes time, but it has to. It's not a simple thing. As far as I'm aware, there's no real shortcuts to it. I could be wrong though. I think this helps a lot. I'm not keen on this straight line that we've got going. I'm not really keen on this wave either. I feel like we need some visible breakup for this to work. I really wish RenderMan had resumable rendering. It'd be really great if you could like pick a section and rather than render it from the first pass, it would render from whatever pass it's currently at. That'd be really nice, because I know V-Ray has that. Obviously it works based on saving out files, so I don't know if it would work based on changing region and rendering again, but yeah, I don't like this shape at all. That needs to be fixed. That's really, really ugly. This I can live with, but this is amazingly ugly. Let's go in. Question is, where's it coming from? Oh, that's where it's coming from. Okay, cool. That's easy enough to find. Oh, that's weird how it's been able to do that. Yeah, but I'm not fully understand the projection part. Do you know any tutorial or something that shows you projection part? There's a guy who I've worked with before called Michael Wild. He did a tutorial on this goldfish. I'm not going to play the audio to his video because it's his video. Go check out his channel. He's really good. He's a texture artist. I think he goes through painting scales in this. Yeah, there you go. I think he does it based on tileable maps, which he then fixes by hand. So you can check out this. I'm going to send you a link to that. That's the most recent one I can think of. There might be other examples out there. I don't know why this person disliked it. there might be other more like suitable examples out there for you, maybe. But that's the most recent one I know of, and he's a really talented texture artist. Apparently, he was in the groom team as well before I got to NPC. So we need to fix this guy. So let's straighten that out. And we're going to need to break up some of these lines. What am I doing right now? Let's just do that. Sometimes it's good just to grab your guides and do something with them. Like, just throw shapes. Yeah, no, he's channel. Yeah, he's got some really good content. I keep meaning to go through it because I do want to learn texturing in a bit more depth. I also have done some texturing during this service for this series, but I'm quite new to texturing as a whole. Like, I've obviously been doing it for years on and off, but I'm not a professional texture artist, so I really want to learn more in depth. There's another really great channel for texturing actually, which if you're interested in, oh god, what's her name? Let me just search Mari tutorial. I'm sure something will come up. There she is. Artuism Digital. Her channel is incredible. She's really, really good. So I recommend that one as well. Oh, she seems to have some scales on this guy actually. I think she's going to sculpt them by those things. Oh, she's painting them. Alright, yeah, so maybe this one's a suitable one for you. So that looks like a pretty cool setup. So yeah, I'll check that one out. My girlfriend's obsessed with this song. It's really catchy, to be fair. What's that song called again, Becca?
I can't pronounce it.
That's a weird name for a song.
No, it's in my duck.
That's a guy. Enjoy a show. Really hoping my video doesn't get muted.
Done. I've done my dance, so I didn't need you to make comments on it.
I wasn't making comments on your dancing. Your dancing's cute. There we go, that's feeling a bit better. Still not perfect though. I don't know why this area is... What, sorry?
Oh, you got a message.
I got a message.
Oh, stop. Stop. Hey. Shh.
Are you new to phones, Becca?
Shut up. I need to be nice. Can you just be...
I need to be nice. I mean, yeah. Doesn't come very natural to me. Oh, it's just a Cards Against Humanity chat.
No, you have an email or a email as well.
Oh, right, okay.
That's what I meant. Go.
Well, you didn't say email, you said message. Let's grab this guide. What are you going to do? You're going to work on your space gun?
Why is it not letting me sign in? I'm going to have a look at this freelance to see what your mom meant.
What, the project you're working on?
Yeah. He mentioned something about split, but I have a funny feeling there's part of a geometry that he wants. But what I'm going to do is give him the base and then just give him the leaves separate.
Yeah.
And then just dice scatter. I need to find the geometry. I don't think...
That's looking better.
I'm hoping it's not as complicated, or at least I can just...
That's looking a lot better.
The other piece of geometry. Okay, it's actually not as bad.
Let's see if the silhouette's working out.
Tell me what you love me, baby.
Still feels a bit samey. Might need to play it in more. Also, I love how guides look when they're going through a groom. I always find it super interesting. I need to set the width for these guides as well. There we go. So, before we go much further on that, I need to fix the neck, because the neck is really driving me mad. I also need to fix like the neck beard look that he's got going.
Neck beard.
He does, doesn't he? He's got like a perfect neck beard going
Oh,
around.
he does.
Yeah. It's not good. I'm wondering if I can just copy the modifiers from the head, and if that will work. Obviously I need to fix the maps, but in fact no, I'll just build it again from scratch. Right, so let's go into the neck. In fact, actually I do need to go into the head and just copy the sizes. So set up maps. This one is using 8, and I can grab this. So let's go to the neck. Go to clump 1s. There's already a mask there, which is good. So I can just do this. Rename that to clump 01 mask. What did I call it? Clump 01 mask. Clumpo. Clumpo.
Oops.
There we go. That's that one, in theory, working. Cool, that was cool. And what was the density of it? 4, so we need to go up on that. Generate. Save that. That's already looking better. So let's go to head, go to clump 2, set up maps, 18, and I'm just using percentage on that, so I need to remember the number 18 for neck. Oh, it's close with that one, 16, so let's change that. Save. I've actually got the same. Oh, I've got a mask in there as well. So I've got. Oh, that's because of the neck, right? So just go in. I'm gonna rename that just to keep things consistent. I'm also going to restructure it a little bit. So we've got a bit of space in there.
I won the conquest ball.
Yeah, you told me. It's really cool.
And apparently I am getting a prize.
Oh, really? Nice.
I've been asked a really weird arrangement of questions from Hannah.
Right, so what was the percentage that we used? 70 and C's 6. Well, C did not need to copy. Neck, so it's 70% and 70% on this one. Cool. So the last thing I need to add. Have you seen West Digital's in-house tool? How they scatter snow and dirt. I think that's the best grooming tool out there. Yeah, it used to be called Wig. I think it's called Wig now. It used to be called Barbershop. It's really cool. Their scattering tool is pretty interesting as well. It seems pretty similar to other tools out there, to be honest, but it is really nice. From what I hear, Framestore has one of the nicest groom tools. But again, I've not personally used it, but I hear a lot of good stuff about their groom tool. Let's check clump 3. Grab you. Cool, set up maps. 70. 70 is really high. So I need to add a third layer of clumping. So that's 70. I think it had variation, so let's put it to 0.8. You can see a demo showing. Yeah, I've seen the demo. It's really really cool. There we go. So let's turn off the noises for now. Let's see what we're doing on its own. So now we need to check the noises. I could have just copied these, but it would have been easier. But past that point now. Frequency of 2 and rand between 0 and 1. And then I guess this guy's going to be more complex. I thought so. So let's go to this guy. Noise. Oh, this one's complex. I guess we can keep that. Noise frequency of 2. Just round these between 0 and 1. There we go. We've got strays in this one as well. And then go to this guy. Noise. I need to check the frequency on this guy. Rand between 0.5 and 1.5.
You appeared 38 searches this week.
What, on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Nice. There we go.
30 of them were NPC.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just because my old bro, like, they're not old, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I have no noise in my large clumps. So that means all this is coming from the guides. So I just need to do better guide work on the neck.
Monster.
That kind of surprises me, to be honest. I had a little bit of noise. There we go.
I got my flowers.
Oh yeah.
That's what, remember the way we had the phone conversation about like where to order them or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
I suggested the one that you got from me ages ago.
Bloom and Wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they actually came with bulbs. So like she can replant the flowers.
Oh, that's cool.
That was pretty good.
Would you like to work in a feature animation studio, or are you rather more VFX kind of thing? I'm actually indifferent. I'd happily work in either, as long as like the people I work with are nice. I'm happy. Because obviously my personal work varies quite a lot. I mean, this guy's more on the VFX side of things, you know, with like high detail maps and that sort of stuff. But then, you know, the previous project was pretty animation based. I don't really have much of a preference. Obviously, my experience is VFX, but I do like to do like animated style sculpts. I find them a lot more fun to do, like, sculpt wise. And obviously grooming, I like to do a lot more detail, so there's a balancing act to be had. But right, let's do a test render of that and see if.
Studio size as well plays into a big part of that.
What do you mean?
Like if you wanted to do like animation. Well, actually no. I was thinking like feature animation. I was like thinking about like jellyfish and stuff like that. But they're actually quite big now.
They're getting pretty large, yeah. I think they've got over 100 people.
Yeah. You alright?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm just reading that email.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I seen kind of it, if that makes sense, because it opened, you know, like on your phone,
Mm-hmm.
like on the lock screen.
Cool.
Don't invade your partner's privacy, guys. Just accidentally read what's on the screen.
message myself. I need to message Joe.
Who?
I need to message Joe.
This is Jeff? Who the frick's Jeff?
The uni still want me to do that chat.
Sugar.
And I need to find out if I'm able to get the time off work.
Yeah, to do it. When would the talk be?
Next Friday from 2 to 4. Yeah, exactly.
What,
They said they can put it off to the week behind. So I'd have 2 weeks from tomorrow. Which I think would be preferable, but I'll try to get some information tomorrow. So this definitely isn't working. I've got a feeling the noise is having something to do with it. Like the noise itself is really quite bad. So let me just check the noise modifiers on the not the body, the head. I've got 2 noise modifiers. That is horrible. Why did I do that?
I don't even know.
See, technically that would result in a different look, but I hate it. Okay, so let me explain why that would result in a different look. Let's open Critter. That might take a little while to open. So I don't know if I did that intentionally or if it just naturally happened, but at this point I wouldn't be able to change that without affecting the look of the fur. So let me explain why that happens. Also, Becca, just to fill you in, for whatever reason I decided to put a mask that's a random from 0 to 1.
Right.
And then I also put the magnitude, which is a random from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
So they're both doing the same thing.
That is weird.
But they stack. So I'm going to explain to the stream why that matters. Just in case there's anyone who doesn't realise why that would be important. So, you've got mask, and you've got the actual magnitude as well. So the mask is a random from 0 to 1. So if you imagine that as a graph, we're doing graphs, today's a good day. So 0, 1, 1, and then 0 at this height as well. So you got this little graph here, and I'm going to draw 2 others. So if I do a random on the mask of the noise, that's going to generate a random value between 0 and 1. So you can imagine that as a line like that. If I do a random from 0 to 1 in magnitude, you can imagine it as a random, again, from 0 to 1. So they're doing the same thing in theory, but the problem is, or the benefit is, I don't know if there's a way mathematically to achieve what this ramp will be, but these basically multiply each other. So 1 multiplied by 1 is obviously 1. 1 multiplied by 0 is 0 multiplied by 0 is 0. But then 0.5 multiplied by 0.5 is 0.25. So you now got an exponential curve rather than a linear curve. So that's going to mean that the way my hair will work is most of the hairs have less noise than they would do if it was a purely random from 0 to 1. You could get a similar look by doing random from -1 to 1 and then clamp it, but you'd be missing this. So if you clamped this to make it 0, so get rid of this area, you'd have a similar-ish ramp minus that bit. But that's going to result in different looks. Although it was accidental, I'm not going to change it, even though it looks weird, because that is going to be a very different ramp from these guys, which is kind of infuriating, because I like the way it looks, but I hate looking at a random, the exact same random in both magnitude and mask. Maybe if anyone knows how to do exponential curves in an expression, that would be good. I'm not very good at maths, so I don't know how to do exponential curves in this type of mask. I also have the magnitude scale not set to 1. That's too disgusting. I need to change that. Like, even if it doesn't immediately change the groom. So frequency of 5. So I'm going to copy that as much as I hate it. And that's at 0.27. So let's go in, get the first noise. Yeah, so this one's actually, oh yeah, I need to keep them multiplied by length. Okay. Oh, this gets complicated. Right, okay. So let's do that. Let's do that. Move that along a bit. I'm just going to match the other noise and see how it looks. So This might be really strong. It is not really strong. Interesting. So what was the other noise then? This one's a percentage. And it's a rand 1 to 2 and a rand 2 to 5. So let's copy that over. Rand 1 to 2, and it was 2 to 5, right? 2 to 5. So these two grooms are going to have a similar hair quality. This one will look worse because the guides are less developed. But it will have a similar hair quality at least. So it won't feel out of place in the groom. It'll just feel boring. I use the word boring quite a lot to describe my own grooms. That's not really a good thing.
It's boring.
Thanks. Would a boring person have their Guinness right now? I'm not going to have a Guinness right now.
Have your Guinness right now.
It's 10 o'clock. I don't want to have a Guinness right now. Although I'm kind of tempted, to be honest.
Tell me what you're about eating.
I'm going to go through, while this renders, I'm going to go through my reference. We need to find some interesting flows for the neck, which is basically a main. So I'll just look at main ref. With it being short and at the front, I think this one would be best. But I'm not sure this would work visually on this character, because he doesn't have a furry face. So having no fur go to this would feel a bit out of place. So unless I blend the density or do it fuzzy, this might not work. Alright, now this is going on the screen. I hate the ID channel so much. Yeah, that feels a lot better. Let's region render that. Let's see how it looks. We're gonna need some more variation. I got a message from Devil.
Me?
Devil.
Who derp?
When you order liquid one, you fill it with water before you send it. They fill it. You can order better quality cooling liquid. I think this is actually somewhat successful. It needs some guide work, as I said it would, but I think as a whole it's kind of working the way I'd expect it to, visually at least. So I just need to figure out some nice flows. I also need to work on the body. I think we're getting to that point now where pretty soon, not yet, I think we've still got at least another stream to go. But pretty soon I'm going to need to start doing look dev, which terrifies me because fur look dev is not easy, as I found out when I started off this project with the fur look dev. What flows can we do though? I'm gonna print screen this. Going to Critter again. New file. That's fine. As web. Let's crop that. Cool. So, pen tool. And let's get a nice blue. So, let's actually make that a bit darker. We can do exponential curves with gauss step and smooth step. Alright, cool. I'll look into that. Did you just Google it, or do you happen to know that? Because that's quite a niche bit of knowledge right there. That's really cool.
Google is the.
I assume Google, because Googling is always the correct thing to do. If I remember correctly, so he happens to know it. That's really good, man. I'm impressed. Right, so I like these two shapes. So let's figure out a flow. So we can break it there. So I'm just gonna make this exact same flow though. I'm going to ignore this stuff. So I do like that though. That is nice. So I'll keep that. And that needs to happen. But maybe let's do that. I googled it the other day after work. Oh, fair enough. It's just kind of a hybrid. You remembered it, but it's something you've googled recently. Okay, so maybe we could have that bit curl up, that bit curl out, which could allow me to do a break here, I think. Pull that in. Pull that in. I think I need that to balance out, but let's try a little curl there. I'm really struggling with this. I'm going to try something. I'm going to just delete this layer, add a new layer, and I'm going to draw a squiggle, and then a second squiggle, and then a third squiggle, and then a crazy squiggle. So, I have no idea if this would work as a method, but let's try using that as a template.
Like how you do the
Plane?
thing. Yeah.
What plane?
You know, like in your camera, like
Image plane?
You know, whenever you're zooming in on an object that's too big, it's clipping the plane.
Oh, select your. Go into. One sec. I'll show you. So selecting your camera.
What one?
Just the camera you're looking through.
Yeah.
Go to the attribute editor. And in the first thing, camera attributes, there's near clip plane and far clip plane.
It's a big object, but would it be far?
Well, are you looking at it from far away and it's going invisible? Then you need to increase the far clip plane. Generally speaking, the near clip plane is either when you're zoomed in really close or if you're getting black patches on the model. So normally it's add a 0 to far clip. Right, so let's see if that idea for flows will work out. I just want to force myself out of my comfort zone. So I like this shape, so I'm going to keep that automatically. Having this like kind of thing here. That would force us to have a split here, potentially. So let's just do something like that. How could I use this? Or could I use this? That might actually have worked as a general method. I'm going to call it scribble flows. This area is blank though. It's flowing that way. This is flowing that way, so we need something to break it slightly. But that's kind of forcing me into a bit of a hard spot, so we need something to completely cut across, I think. Maybe this could be a flick up. And let's just do some generic scribbles out there. I think that general flow could work, so let's add a second layer, fill this with red, and just draw the flows over this. There's a lot of clashing in this, but I kind of feel like there has to be. And now I can just hide those two layers. So that's the flow I'm going to try to go with. Something like that anyway. The method was complete garbage, but at least it's something vaguely interesting. It's a lot more interesting than what I've got. So let's... the render's already killed. Cool. So let's start with him. Oxygen. I need to go into the head and hide. Actually, while I'm in the head, I want to get this for a neck. I'm going to save as well because I feel like I'm about to get a crash. And then I'm going to alt save. So let's add that expression. Just to get some more variation in the guy colours. Right, so what did I need? I wanted to curl out on this side. So this one's already doing it. And he's way too short. He's going to cause issues. I think sometimes you do guide work and you come back to it and you're like, what was I thinking? Or was I thinking? Is a better question sometimes. Probably wasn't thinking. And then we need a guide here to curl out. Pull that up. Let's not care about forcing flows yet. Let's just put guides in place. We can always target them later. Need you to do something different. Something like that. Need you to flow sideways. I keep doing that. Let's check if that works. Even that's more interesting. Getting some breaks in there. Breaking the flow is so important. I really need to figure out what I'm going to do with this area though. I feel like I should prioritize this one because that's ruining the groom for me. Like this stuff is bearable, but just fix this area and then call that done as a temporary. Let's turn that off. I'm going to make this longer. So at this point I'm not caring about lengths, consistent lengths anyway. Let's do utilities, target guide, so target, move. Let's grab you, move. Just force that shape in there. Well, potentially force that shape in there. I'll see if it actually worked. It did. Cool. So what am I going to do with this shit? I feel like maybe we're fading the clumping out too soon. Maybe we need to fade the clumping in way earlier. So let's get the guides. You right? Fade. Sick fade, bro. Now where's that pillar? There it is. I've got another message from Devil. Let's just check that. Cool, so let's start. Oh, yeah, there we go. Which one will it be though? I think it's this one. Let's fade that in earlier. So, tool settings, solid brush, white. And I'm just gonna do. I'm gonna do my favorite thing. Oh, I'm gonna turn off started pressure. Why's my computer running so slow right now? Test manager. My computer's nowhere near maxing out. I'm using 23 gig of RAM. How am I using that much RAM? Like so quickly. Closing Critters freed up like 2 gig though. Right, so let's just start. Did I want to fade it up to these guys? I think I did, right? I'm going to get rid of the 0.5 values. That breakup stuff I was talking about in the last stream, or maybe the stream before. Not entirely sure anymore. So let's set up black. Let's do that. Black and white. Maybe a small brush. Not that small though. Again, like, I'm not caring too much about the strokes I'm doing right now. I'm literally just doing like random brush strokes. I just want to get some textual variation in this clump map. And even though the hair over here is really short, because these clump masks are so thin, you're not going to get a huge effect. So we don't have to worry about it tearing and showing too much skin. So I'll get some general breakup in there. Let's add some white back into that. Cool. Let's see if that works. Does it look better? Somewhat, but still dull. Okay. Do we need more length, like straight away? Maybe we do. Maybe we just need it to be more solid. Maybe I've faded it too far back. Let's do that. This is one of the reasons it's important not to spend too much time on your maps until you've got, you're sure that they're working. So let's just pull that whole thing forward a bit. This is going to look super weird. At least I'm expecting it to look super weird. Oh, I need to make sure I fill in that region. Cool. That's too big. Something like that. Tool settings, set it to black. Cool, something like that might do. And then if this doesn't work, we'll have to add length to the guides to give me a bit more freedom. Who'd have thought it didn't work? So let's add more length to those guides. So we need these ones to be longer, we need him to be longer, we need some more guides in between as well. Need a lot more guides in between actually. Scale all those up. Let's just mess the guides up. Boop, 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 boop. And then add guides in between. Add some length. Another guide right there. And add a guide right there. And add a guide right there. Cool. Nope. I think I accidentally just duplicated all the guides, but I don't know. So the problem is now is because I don't have an undo queue. If I accidentally delete a guide that wasn't duplicated, it's just going to delete the guide. I have to re-sculpt it every time. Let's just see if that works. Let's see if I'm going the right direction with this. It's more broken up than it was, but it's still got that neckbeard feeling. Maybe I just need to pull it forward on the face. No, let's check. Maybe I can get away with that. It's hard to tell. Because this could be shadowing or it could be fur. Becca, what do you think?
I don't know.
The noise in here, shadow or fur?
Zoom in. Closer.
Right, Ian, again.
It looks like shadow. No, wait, actually. It's
Because
hard to
the
tell.
shadow's like smooth.
Yeah,
This I've got a feeling is fur.
yeah, like a peltish kind of
Yeah.
thing, like as if it's graded, like sideburns, but they graded.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if it's worth adding more of the face in.
I think it would be.
Raffle CG, damn, I missed a lot. Well, it's all recorded. You can watch. You can watch it at any point.
You can hear my dithering in the background.
He retracted his message. Maybe he realised he hasn't missed a lot. Right, let's make these guys way longer. We need to find a way to break it up. So let's make these way longer and that as well. Just give him like a, not a goatee, but that type of fur. Just make it way longer in this region. I might have to consult some other professional groomers and see if they have a trick to break up this type of issue. The problem now is we've got guys like this that are complete nonsense. I'll have to delete him. Delete him. maybe if I do this. Let's just see what that does. Ah, it still looks that way. I think it's just because it's flowing out uniformly. Maybe I just need to go in and have some of these go straight down, and then some others go straight out. Let's see how this looks when we render it. I've got a feeling it's going to look pretty similar, but it's worth checking. Renderman, IPR. I'm going to go to the toilet while this goes.
Must ask questions.
Becky will be here.
I'm here. I can't really answer anything but room from further. But...
Ready to blow up the camera?
Yes, please. You can ask me what my favourite candle scent is, and I could try my best to answer. Oh, here he comes. Oh Lord, he comes. ASMR.
Uh-huh.
Cheap first time.
Render's going alright. I need to figure out how to break up the neck. That's super weird.
Neck.
Right, here we go. I just realised that I can watch what I missed later. The LSS, yeah, that's what I was mentioning that earlier. Actually, it looks insane. There's some scary good stuff available out there, like scarily good. I haven't watched GTC though. I've just seen the Nvidia talk. This is looking more interesting. It's not right yet, but it's definitely making progress. What can we do in the next half hour? Is there anything in particular you guys would like to see? Because I'm not burning out. I'm just kind of running out of steam on tonight's stream. There's a bunch of stuff I could work on. So, is there anything in particular anyone would like to see me work on, see develop a little bit further? 'Cause I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to keep streaming for another half hour. I'm just not sure when I want to work on exactly.
These weeks scattering leaves.
Oh, sorry?
Leaf scattering.
Your leaf scattering.
Yeah.
Again, all the leaf scattering. But yeah, if anyone wants to suggest anything, because I'm not sure entirely what to spend the time on.
How's the peach fuzz?
Peach fuzz is fine, that's fine. The peach fuzz generally doesn't really need any work, to be honest. Like, it's not perfect, but it's such a subtle groom that we won't see in the renders anyway. We'll only see it when I do some close-ups for like the foundry or anything like that. Maybe the eyelashes. We could spend a bit more time on the eyelashes. Let's have a look at the eyelashes, see what they're doing.
How many, on a scale of 1 to Maybelline Extra Thick Gouache?
Let's hide all the other grooms. I love how he looks when you hide the head groom. Eyelashes plus plus. Alright, cool. Eyelashes are this. And then we need is. So, we've got a basic groom in place. So, let's get the Google open, because I don't think I've got any reference saved specifically for the lashes. Like, I've got this little guy, but it's not the most helpful thing. Eyelashes agreed. Alright, cool. It looks like everyone's saying eyelashes. Although this is pretty helpful for the bottom lid. Is it me, or is that fur growing like basically on the eyeball? Like, obviously it's not on the eyeball itself, but it seems oddly close to the eyeball. I don't know how well it comes across in stream, but like these hairs, they look like they go almost directly into the tear duct.
They could.
I find that so unlikely though. I don't think I have any good eyelash reference other than that. I'm not doing this.
I have eyelashes.
You do have eyelashes, but you're not a monkey. Well, technically, you are a glorified monkey, but...
Glorified. That is the most beautiful compliment I've ever been paid.
We're people. People are glorified monkeys.
Not if you're God-fearing Christian like this.
God-fearing Christian. Right, so let's search monkey eyelashes. Oh, no, I've searched this before and it's super weird. Let's search monkey eye macro.
You get some weird shit.
Some of them won't really have eyelashes like this dude. He actually does. He has some tiny little eyelashes right here. They are puny. We got this guy, doesn't really have eyelashes. This guy, he doesn't really have eyelashes. This guy, but they're super subtle, like beyond subtle. Maybe I just need to go more subtle on mine, to be honest. He has eyelashes. Getting flashbacks to Dimbo. An image just came up of elephant eyelashes.
Beautiful.
They're so hard to do.
Why?
They're just really difficult. Elephant eyelashes are just not easy. They're just such weird shapes. Can you let me just see the image full size, please?
It's a big note for me.
It's just not letting me search. Alright. Well, let's look through these then. I have no idea what animal that is. It's kind of interesting.
What?
I've gone off it now.
I really can't. If it was like weird blue eyes with slits for some antelope.
Where do you like to get your refs? There was a site that Jesus shown me.
Google.
Oh, what was it called? I've actually forgot.
Was it the animal site? Is it the Not to Your Wild site?
No. Unsplash? Was it? Yes, it was. Unsplash. But I normally just go into Google. Monkey eyes.
I think Not to Your Wild has quite a few actually. Like up, if you're looking like really high depth animals, I think it was Kanan showed us.
Sean Mills sent me something.
Sean.
Yeah. Is it a meme? Yep, it's a meme.
It's
Thought
not
so.
a reference for eyes.
He probably doesn't even realise I'm streaming, to be honest. I don't think he's going to have any Oh, yeah, loaded eventually.
On today's episode of Is It a Meme or Is It a Ref?
Oh, that's something I don't have in my groom. That's kind of interesting. I do want to grow the fur further forward into the face because since it turns out this guy's a bird anyway, I may as well go more monkey. So I might grow the fur onto the face and do a little bit more of this stuff. It'd be weird to include that as part of fur neck, but fur neck is the one that's kind of naturally doing that right now anyway, so I might extend that in the next stream. I love how these monkeys have the quarantine haircut down. Hey Becca.
They live in their best life.
They are. Eyelashes. A lot less dense than I've got. I think density is going to be the key issue in mine. Like mine are too visible. I mean, most monkeys barely have eyelashes. I think I chatted about it in a previous stream. Like because they have really pronounced brows, they don't have as much use for eyelashes as humans do. They have the weirdest eyebrows, which I'm kind of tempted to add.
Oh, yours isn't even a monkey at this point. Remember, it's a bird.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I'm thinking, because I've already got the monkey body, and I'm not remaking the asset, so I might just go more heavy on the monkey side.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
And add like.
Who pointed it out to you?
No one. I found his when he commented on the video.
Fine.
I went onto his YouTube channel and saw the video, and I was like, my heart was crushed.
Sorry, Sam.
I might work on the whiskers in the next stream because I kind of dig this image. Right, it's really cool. I might add like a little bit of a goatee, although it's not really in the ref, so I'd have to play it subtle. These things are amazing. I love these. They're so wise. Look at them, Becca.
No.
Monkeys have some of the coolest fur.
Was it at Dublin Zoo that time that we went that like the orangutans were like the coolest thing ever?
Oh yeah. Well, that time when I saw them in India was fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the monkeys so close, and they're right little shits, but they're really cool. He doesn't have eyelashes. I need to find something with eyelashes that I like the look of. I've got 20 minutes left, but to be fair, eyelashes don't take too long.
I know, I'm trying to like scatter leaves.
Speed scattering.
Yeah.
I really need to buy a Houdini license so that I can. Cause it's literally 240 quid a year. Like that's amazing pricing.
I know a lot of places. I've noticed Unreal Engine 5 have capped. They've changed their capping, so that you can now spend up to it's like £1 million, like income for Unreal Engine before you have to pay for the next Indie license or the next license.
That's cool.
Not cool because like I think mine is like nothing. I think it's like 10 grand.
Maya's really expensive.
Yeah, there was a big talk in that group that I'm in. Someone said about it, and it turned into a bit of like a conversation about like, you know, what does it mean? Someone mailed me and said, what does it mean for Maya? And I was like, well, it doesn't really mean much, but it means that, you know.
Oh, what Unreal means?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I read through it. I'm not entirely sure I agree with all your points, but it's like there's definitely going to be a shift. I don't think Unreal and Maya interact that much. I don't think Unreal being better will change how people use Maya.
I think
that's more down to how Blender and Houdini progress than Unreal. It's a separate part of the pipeline.
I reckon less people will use Maya though for their rendering.
Oh yeah, completely. But people will still have to use Maya, so I don't think it will change the amount of Maya licenses bought.
It depends. I think are Houdini and Unreal not something.
That is so cool.
Compatibility.
Why did they have a layer of black fur that just comes way out in front?
It's a way to protect from bugs or something.
Hey, but look at that. Okay.
Okay.
I need to settle on an image.
See, I think it's really. I think Houdini, by the sounds of it, seems to have a lot more compatibility.
Oh, is that here? So I'm out. Thanks for the stream. No problem, man. Glad you've enjoyed it. Ian, what do you like to make in Houdini? I like to use Houdini for environment stuff. I like the fact that I can use like look dev type tools to do my geometry, so I can play with noises to make displacement to create rocks. I love that. I find that so cool. And scattering is something that it's really good at as well. I need to settle on an image because I've got limited time.
What do you like to use it for, Sam?
You know what? I'm going to just settle on this image that I had before. So, let's...
I have a funny story to tell you, by the way.
What?
You know, earlier, whenever you were on a work call,
Yeah.
I had chili on my hand. I didn't know, like, the juices, and I wiped my eye.
Oh no. Oh no.
And yeah, it took all of my being not to scream on your call. And then I did the same thing later whenever I scratched my nose. I, like, here, I felt like the burning, and I was like, what the?
Yeah. That food you made today was so good though.
I'm glad you enjoyed.
Have you used World Machine? I haven't used World Machine actually. I know it's amazing, but I haven't used it. Right, eyelashes. So, what do we need to do to get this look? We need to lower the density and the width, that's for sure. So let's match the eyes size-wise. So those eyes are roughly the same scale now. Obviously this guy's got recessed eyelids, which makes it a bit more complicated. I feel like I need to define the eyelids more in the model. It might be a bit late for that now, but yes, so I need to make these thinner. That's the first thing. And lower the density as a whole. So let's go with base to 3. No, 0, 3. That feels bad to me. We need to lower the density as a whole as well. I feel like the bottom ones need to be longer too. So let's lower the density first. Let's go to 300 rather than 500. That's actually too low now, I think. Let's increase that back up a little bit. And I think the issue I've got is that they point out forwards too quickly. Like with this guy, they almost follow the eyelid exactly, whereas my eyelid, you know, if it wasn't recessed, would be going down, and these are coming out. So I need to slope them down a little bit more at the start. So let's just grab, for now, let's just grab those ones. Is there another place to get the sculpt tool from? No, alright, I'm just going to put this on the other screen. I'll bring it back on whenever I'm giving myself a note. So I need to arch these down so that the guide follows the eyelid. Straight speaking, if this was for VFX, I'd have to recess this eyelid so that it actually folds in, because currently if you was to close this eye, you'd run out of geometry. You'd also run out of UVs because he didn't UV him with his eyes closed. But yeah, so that's something to address potentially. It would make transferring maps a nightmare though, just because that's helping. It's helping a lot. It would make transferring UVs a nightmare though, because obviously you can't transfer that in world space. You're just going to get artifacts everywhere. So I'd have to repaint textures for the eyes. Well, not the eyes themselves, but the eyelids. That's not too big of a deal. The texturing SOS EMATs will take a while. So we need to reduce the density towards the outer edges. It's the next thing on this list. So let's go in and tool settings. Let's set this to 0.5. So we've got half density on the outside. And then while I'm painting this, I'm going to have this visible just so I can quickly save ptext maps. So let's do that and do that. Save that. Update it. Not enough. So let's go down to 0.25. Paint that value. Save that. Update it.
We have an adventure, by the way, for Saturday.
An adventure?
Mm.
I'm picking stuff up. Yeah. Alright, so now we've got that. Let's do a blend between. It's not going to be a perfect blend. I'm just going to go to 0.5 and then 0.75. So let's just paint a value of 0.5 there. And there. And then paint a value of 0.75. Because this map's so small, I'm not worried about getting an actual like perfect blend, because I don't think you'd notice it. Cool. Save textures. Let's extend the scene color as well. I'm going to have to repeat the same on the other side, but let's just see if that works. That's working a lot better to me. Right, I need to make the lower eyelashes longer. So let's just grab those. And we can ignore the ones on that side. Let's grab those. And I'm going to angle these up a little bit more to match the eyelid a bit closer. Not sure that works. Let's just arch them more. Now it just feels straight. I need to rebuild these, I think, with more CVs. Let's rebuild all of them. Rebuild, let's go to 8 CVs. Cool. And then we can go in with the sculpt tool now and do some real changes. I could kink the guides to get some interesting shapes in there. There we go. That's more interesting. So let's delete the guides on this side. Here are these ones. And then I need to start painting the maps to match. So it was 0.25, 0.5, 0.75. Tool settings. .25. And roughly how far did I go? 3 faces. 1, 2, 3. And that side was 2 faces. Cool. This is 0.5, and I'm just going to do 1 face for each. No. There we go. 5. That's actually 2 faces, but oh well. Cool. And so that's a 0.75. Let's do that. I could just use the blur brush, but that'd defeat the fun. So let's save that. There we go. We need to get the hairs away from the eyelid a little bit. So let's get back in and paint some more black. Do that. Pull them back a little bit. I'm not too worried about how perfectly accurate this is. I just want to get them back from the eyelid a little bit. We can always increase the density if we lose too many. Which we probably will do, to be honest. As in lose too many, not increase the density necessarily. Definitely need to add it back in there a little bit. There we go. I'm fine with the bottom lid. That's working fine for me. Save textures. Next gen. Save. Cool. So now, I think we need to add a bit of a splay outwards because they're all pointing perfectly forward, which isn't necessarily accurate. I think for this I can just rotate them, to be honest. Let's just grab all those, rotate them that way. Grab you, rotate you that way a little bit. That might be all we need. Let's rotate that one a bit more. Let's do the same on the other side. I'm going to do this asymmetrically just because it's such a simple thing to do. Although mirroring the guides really wouldn't take that long in this section. Alright. Let's see how this looks. Do a close-up render. And I'm gonna alt save as well. Rendered this like uncomfortably close. I feel like these are too thin now. Might thicken them up just a little bit. Although in a way this kind of works. We need to break how parallel they all are. How could I do that? Make sure that's dead. Yeah, it's dead. Modifiers. Let's add a noise. In fact, let's check what these ones are being used for. CVs, that should be more than enough. That's too parallel. Alright, so what's this noise doing? Okay, so that will give us some roll at the root. So now if we set this to be a percentage as well, I need to go copy that from somewhere. I'm not typing it out every time. Here will do. Clump 01 mask. Clump 01 mask. Apply, accept. There we go. I guess there's some more variation. So let's make them a tiny, tiny bit thicker. Literally like, what is that, 5%? 12% maybe? So let's pick an angle. I'm going to be ending the stream in 3 minutes, guys. So if anyone has any questions, do let me know. If not, the next stream will be on Saturday. So I've got some stuff I need to do tomorrow. Let's check that.
How much money can you lift from an ATM?
I think 400 is the most you can lift in most places.
The stuff they need to collect, I know there's no banks here, so. And I like branches are only really open for emergency stuff, and I don't really understand people like.
I'll be absent from the Saturday stream, lol, but good work. Thanks, man.
You get a sticker.
I think these eyelashes are working better now.
Thanks, I grew them myself.
No, thanks. My computer's chugging and I don't know why.
I feel like that's your go-to expression. I don't remember why.
No, it is. For some reason, my 6 other cores are spiking even though they're set not to be used. I had to kill the render. I've got a feeling I'm going to get a crash soon, so I'm going to stop rendering while on stream. In fact, it's just reached 11 o'clock, so I'm going to end the stream here, guys. I'm going to render the progression image off stream. But yeah, like my computer's on the verge of locking up for some reason. What could it be? And I've got quite a lot of stuff open. Let's kill PureRef. Close window. Kill this. So yeah, that's the stream for today, guys. hope you've enjoyed. If not, cool.
Send complaints to 1-800 we don't care.
Well, I do care if people have complaints.
Yeah, 1-800 Becky doesn't give a shit.
But yeah. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. If not, cool. I'll hopefully see some of you on Saturday. And if not, also cool. Hope you enjoyed. Bye guys.